All right, good morning, everyone. Welcome to Hire a Moment Mastermind. We are delighted to have you here for our encouraging Friday morning session to answer all of your job search questions in a short span of an hour. So my name is Shira Lotzar. I am a higher purpose champion. I am an association recruiter, and I love helping people find their right fit and the right trajectory through career coaching and branding and helping people get noticed by employers through resumes and LinkedIn profiles and all kinds of good job search stuff. I'm also the co-founder and volunteer of boomerworks.org. We empower professionals age 50 plus to re-career into self-employment, and we offer free programs bi-monthly. Check us out. Wanted to introduce our experts today, Michelle Wright, who's an executive recruiter in accounting and finance. Normally, Corliss Jackson is here. She's a specialist in federal government resumes. We are actually joined instead by her colleague, Wendy Thompson. Kiki L'Italien, a master of all things video expert and background, Zoom backgrounds and all kinds of stuff. In fact, she's going to be sharing a live example of that with us today. Vern Schellenger, who is all about networking and relationship building, and Jo Weech, who is an HR exec in the government contracting sector. And want to congratulate Jo. She just got a new job, so she can tell us about that a little later if she likes. Yay, Jo. So format for today's session, 10-minute breakout as per usual. This is going to be an opportunity for folks in your group to identify your group's top question so that when we get back to the main room, you can pop it into the chat box. So in that session, in that little breakout, you're going to want to share your question with each other and any best practices from your job search, kind of lessons learned. Please make sure that everybody has equal time to share, do kind of a loose time count there. And also make sure to assign a scribe for that person to go ahead and put the questions in the chat. Then we'll have a group discussion. So please remain muted when you're back in the main room, just so we can have enough time for our experts to be sharing advice. And so please just post questions in the chat box. At 10:05, we're going to offer a 10-minute speed networking session on the back end, and that's the time for you to share your career goals, your aspirations, what kind of job you're looking for. If anybody has any leads for you, that would be the time for that. And then make sure to keep in touch with our Power Networking spreadsheet. It is a Google Doc. In fact, Kiki's going to pop that into the chat along with the link for the recording of today's session. I typically post that within a day or so you can go find all of our sessions all the way back to August 2020. Okay, so with that, actually, I'm going to stop sharing here and going to put everybody in breakout rooms. So just give me 1 minute here to get you all in the right rooms. Give me a minute. Okay, so go ahead and hit your blue join button. We'll see you in 10 minutes. All right, experts, go ahead and put you in the room.
Sure, I went into the group and then it kicked me back.
Yeah. So you can go ahead and find it. Can you see it can you see it where it is?
I'm not seeing anything to join now.
Okay, I'll put you back in one.
Okay, joining again.
Okay. And for those who are watching this in the recording, feel free to fast forward about 9 minutes and we'll come back to the main room. All right, welcome back, everyone. So while the scribe is quickly typing their group's questions into the chat box, I'd actually like to turn this over to Kiki, because Kiki has kind of a live demonstration of a before and after of coaching she did with one of our participants here around Zoom backgrounds. So Kiki, do you want to share with us?
Absolutely. So let me go through this as quickly as I can. I don't want to take up too much time, but I do want to share with you a little bit about your backgrounds. Now, one of the main questions that I get is, does my background look okay? What's going on? Should I hide things? Should I have things? What should I do? And actually, Caroline, thank you so much. Caroline's here. And she had asked me about my opinion about her background, and I shared it with her, but I asked her, could you share your different backgrounds? Because there is a little bit of a discussion with her. Was it your teenage son, something like that, on which background was the best? So I thought I would just show you these different backgrounds and explain a little bit about what you need to pay attention to, and let you figure out which one you would respond to better. So, when you're thinking about what it is that you're trying to do with your backgrounds, there are so many things we're trying to communicate when we are talking with someone on the other side of the camera that are not what you're saying out of your mouth, but are the nonverbals. They're the things that people are taking in. We want them to believe that we're well organized. We want them to believe that we're disciplined. We want them to believe all kinds of important things about the different personality qualities that we have. And so when we're thinking about our backgrounds, how we are able to sort of translate all of those desired qualities into what we have around us is something worth thinking about. And so Caroline did a wonderful job. She started out kind of like we all do, which is looking at what we have in our background, what's already there. And so the reason I had this slide here was to say, there are many different types of qualities. There's this one example of 5 qualities of a CEO that make them awesome at their job. I just grabbed that from a quick Google search. Foresight, adaptability, reliability, teamwork, decency. These might be things that the people that you're talking to in an interview are thinking in the back of their minds, can I figure out if they have these qualities based on what I'm seeing, based on what I'm hearing? To some extent, your experience can, communicate that, but also these nonverbals are so important. So the question is, who are you? Who is Caroline? Who is Caroline here? Well, we see a lot of color. We see a lot of her background, but there's some chairs happening over here. There's different types of artwork. Is that the type of artwork that the person that she's talking to is going to respond well to? We don't know. We see some work happening over on the other side. And so it's good to show some of your environment, but maybe not all of your environment, right? It might be a little bit, too much in one way or another for the person that's on the other side. We're trying to control as much as we can what we're communicating in that initial conversation or in those important conversations. So here we have the next step. There was a screen, a blank screen. This was a big step in the right direction, because what we have is control over our environment. What can anyone say about a solid color behind us? But there's a term for this in people who teach online presence, and that is the hostage video, right? And they call it the hostage video because there's no way to determine where the person is. There's no way to determine, like they could be anywhere in the world. There's no hint, no clue. You're hiding everything about that person. And the thing that is important to think about this is and to ask yourself is, while this is fine and this is clean and all of those good things, is this actually sharing warmth? Is this sharing that you're human? What is this doing? Is this unsettling? What you're trying to do is connect. So this was the next step. And there are a few things that are important to note about this. This is a nice neutral background. Here she has control over her background. There are two decorative items that are hanging in balance in the frame, in the background. And when the human eye sees a series, it translates to a pattern, and a pattern translates to trust. I know what's going to happen next. This makes sense. And so whether she meant to do that or not, I don't know, but it's interesting because when you see this, the eye says, oh, that matches the other thing. And we as humans naturally go towards things that have symmetry. So in trying to balance that background, it was actually a really intelligent thing to do because you're communicating a level of trust without saying anything about it. So I want to ask all of you this one thing. I know I've taken a lot of time today, but I want to ask you to consider your backgrounds. If someone were to look at your background today, would they be able to pick up that you are organized? Would they be able to pick up that they can trust you? Do you look like you might need to send an SOS because they can't tell anything about where you are at all? And also, if you have color in your background, is it something that actually boosts you to make you look healthy, to make you look happy, to communicate something where you have put all of your best intentions about who you are visually available to the other person?
Thank you, Kiki.
So with that, I turn it back over to Shira.
Thank you, Kiki. Well, I'm not going to let you go just yet. You're not off the hook quite yet.
Okay.
Two things. First of all, I know you speak on this topic all the time, and I know you have pre-recorded materials. While we're doing the rest of our chat, if you could go and find any of the videos or articles or things you've done just to help people out so they can continue to get more, because there's so much more that Kiki did not talk. She just talked about one small element about background, but there's lighting and there's attire and there's all kinds of things. And the other thing is there were a couple of questions in the chat. If you want to go ahead and take a look, there was something about a ring light, something about looking off, like if you have to take notes.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, I'm going to go ahead and take that one real quick. Marva, I think you had asked that. And Kiki, certainly, feel free to banter around with us. But I think I had mentioned a couple of weeks ago that one of the things that you can do is with Zoom in particular, okay, and not necessarily all other platforms, is you can minimize your Zoom screen so that it makes it look like you are looking into the other person's eyes, but it also gives you access to what you're typing in the background. So what you would do is, and you could do it right now, encourage you to try it, just click on the minimize button in the upper right-hand corner of your Zoom. It will turn me right now, okay, because I'm talking, into a small box. Move that box right underneath your webcam. Again, it'll make you look like you're looking at me, but more importantly, to Marva's question, you can also take notes behind it. So you can open up a Word doc and no one would ever know that you're taking notes. Now, as far as writing notes, yeah, that's a little tricky because then you have to physically look away and then you have to explain to the person, hey, I'm not ignoring you, I'm just taking notes. But if you can take notes by typing, that'll of course avoid all of that, besides which it'll be a good record of your conversation. Kiki, do you want to add anything to that?
No, I just think that just building off of what you said about taking notes, I think people understand. I mean, it's a natural thing that you're going to be taking notes during an interview or during a call. And so when you are on video and you have to look off to do something, just say what you're doing. It's kind of the old radio trick. If you're listening, people know that if there's a silence, they don't know what's happening if there's a silence. So the radio trick is to actually verbalize whatever is happening in front of you. So sorry, I'm pausing right now. I had to write that down. That's such an important point. Letting people know that if you look away, it's not because you're checking your phone, it's because you're taking a note, is allowing people to understand what's happening in the frame, like outside the frame that they can't see. Yeah. So
speaking of a phone, someone privately chatted me, how do you do that with a mobile device? I don't have a computer. I guess it has to do probably more with the positioning of your mobile device, like a phone versus an iPad. Whatever you can do. Look, again, you can look away, but to Kiki's point, you have to say something to let people know what you're doing. Yeah. And someone asked about a ring light as well. Mentioning here, I just got my
But
ring
yeah.
light and it reflects off of my glasses. Any suggestions?
So this is a classic problem. And, you know, I'll tell you that this is something that just takes a lot of adjusting, because every single time that you have to reposition or you come back, you're going to have to contend with this. And the answer can be as simple as playing around with the positioning of the light and then readjusting where the glasses sit on your face. And it can be a lot of times, and I don't wear glasses, so I don't get to test this a lot, but whenever so I had like a side hustle as a makeup artist, and that's why some of this stuff, you know, like I've worked on with camera crews. But if you actually bring and adjust the glasses down, sometimes the reflection will go, you know, will go away for the camera. And then that eliminates that. Now, some of us need our glasses, right? Some of us can't have them further down on our faces. We need them to actually see what's happening in front of us. So if you need to see, that's just, it's going to happen. But I think playing around with where the lights are and then playing around with where the glasses are reflecting, you can sometimes eliminate that.
Yeah, and Madeline just said that she turns her ring light around. So that, that can help as well.
Yeah, and some ring lights you can get filters, and you can also, you know, you can do the old trick of getting a scarf that's fairly translucent and draping it over so that you're creating a little bit of your own sort of DIY filter that will allow you to have a softer light, and it won't be as harsh reflecting off of the glass.
And speaking of light, I know we're taking a lot of time here, but you know, I think this is worth it, right? Because everybody needs this. Kiki always tells us we need to be front lit, not backlit. If you are backlit, you're going to be in shadow. If you're front lit, your face is going to have a kind of a clear image. And also, you know, a lot of us still rely on on the webcams that are built into our computer. But you may notice that it kind of creates a little bit of a fuzzy effect. Some of us have actually invested in a small external webcam. I tend to use Logitech. There are other ones out there, not very expensive at all, but it really boosts up the quality of your image. So these days, especially if you're interviewing, highly recommend, if you can afford to invest in it. Makes such a difference in terms of how you come across. Okay, so with that, let's go ahead and keep going on other topics. Kiki, actually, we'll turn back to you to lead our chat. You want to go back to the top and let us know what folks are asking about?
Yeah. Okay. So let me go ahead and move on up here. Oh, here's a good one. How do you move a LinkedIn connection forward to the next step so that you ask for an informational interview? So this is a little bit about that relationship building on a platform like LinkedIn.
Sure, I'll go ahead and tackle that. I know, Vern, you're an expert in the relationship building side, so maybe you want to go ahead and tack on to what I share. Yeah, that's a great question, because you know, LinkedIn's a database. Let's just be real about it, okay? So relationships matter. They've always mattered. And it's the same kind of thing of you know, when you're trying to meet someone, even just regular pre-COVID, without social media, a friend of my friend is my friend. And so one of the things that you would want to do, even when you are, let me just take a step back before you get the connection. If you can leverage the name of your mutual first connection, go ahead and do that. So if that's you have a second level person, and you have a mutual first level in the middle, meaning you're going to open up that person's the second level person's profile. Right underneath their name, there's a section called highlights, and it'll say mutual connections. See who you know. You're at least going to have one mutual connection. You might have 10, you might have 100. Try to find the name of the person who you know the best, and you can name drop appropriately. Now, if the person did not refer you, you can't say, Susie referred me to you, but what you can say is, you and I are mutually connected through Susie, okay? So you can mention that person's name. In addition, though, if you can get Susie to actually make the recommendation, that's even better. And you would do that through email, frankly. You'd write your friend Susie and say, hey, Susie, I noticed on LinkedIn you're connected to John. I have an interest in meeting with John for XYZ. Susie can, if you, Susie, have a trusted relationship, she might actually take the time to make that referral. And that already warms things up. In fact, that alone could set the stage for that informational interview. Why? Because Susie's saying the two of you should meet. Go ahead and get the Zoom coffee on, okay? So she's teeing it up. If you don't have that kind of, that person to make that introduction, once you have hopefully the person accepts your invitation, then I would try to find some reason why it would be of mutual benefit for the two of you to connect. Look, everybody's busy these days. You might be in a situation where you feel like you need them more than they need you, but networking is networking. It's relationship building. Likely than not, there's something you can offer them as well. So if you can go ahead and respond back and say, hey, John, thanks so much for connecting. I noticed such and such about your background. Looks like we have something in common. Maybe we can explore some synergies. Would you be open to a short Zoom call just to see if there's ways that we can support each other with our careers, that kind of thing? Sometimes John will say yes. You never know. So Vern, is there anything else on your side that you'd like to add to that?
Well, the first thing I would add to that is do everything that Shira said, but also don't beat yourself up if you never hear from the person.
Correct.
Okay, because that's going to happen.
Right.
And just move on. Okay. The second thing about an informational interview, and I'll just expand on what Shira said, is again what we always talk about, or I always talk about, networking is about teaching and giving, and so you're trying to teach the person about yourself, or you want an informational interview. What's your agenda? What are you trying to get from them? What expertise do they have? In other words, you can include that in there. I've noticed that you have a lot of experience and expertise in X. This is an area that I'm really interested in, and could I please, take some of your time, and then do as much as you can before the informational interview to see if there's any way that either as part of the interview or after the interview, you're able to give back to that person in some way. And it can be as simple as, I saw this article, I thought you'd be interested in it.
And by the way, on a technical note, this is one of the ways that you can actually boost the likelihood that the person is going to respond to you, is once they've accepted your LinkedIn invitation, which, by the way, a lot of times those LinkedIn invitations get stuck in somebody's LinkedIn inbox. They're not checking. I mean, I've had people months later, and I'm like, wow, that was well, because most people don't, gainfully employed people, right? Busy people just don't check their LinkedIn. Yeah. Likewise, if you write them a note through LinkedIn, a message, once you're first level, they may not see that either. So yeah. once you're connected, I would recommend then you can bounce over to email. Now you're like, well, how do I find the person's email? Great question. There's a 98.5% chance that you will find it in the following place. Once you're first level connected, open up that person's profile on your PC. You can't do this on a phone. You have to do it on a computer. And then, like, right underneath their name, it says contact info. Click on that, and their email address is going to pop up. Likely it's their Gmail, right? It's their personal, but that's okay. It's something. And then you can go ahead and use that and write a private note. Hi, John. It was great connecting with you. Thanks so much for accepting my invitation on LinkedIn. And then you make your request about the interview. So that'll should boost your chances. Okay. All right. So
two things to that, just because.
Yes, Joe, please.
Okay, simply because in recruiting, if you're trying to connect with a recruiter in a company, I can tell you that we get anywhere from 50 to 100 direct messages every single day. So the first thing I would say is that as soon as someone accepts your connection, please don't respond then, because people that are in my different communities complain about the fact that it's like you hardly hit accept, and then you're getting this message because somebody wants time with you. They either want to get your opinion on something, they want to get on a call, they want to get on a Zoom, and it's overwhelming. It really is. So we all pretty much have just ignored those because we can't possibly personally respond to every single person. So again, it's not you, it's just wait. Maybe wait 3-4 days or whatever. And I would suggest maybe sending it on a weekend, when we are more likely to be relaxed, not in the middle of what we're doing. And then also to let you know that if you don't hear back, it's always a good idea to maybe a week later or so, just ping again, because then it puts you right back on top of our thing. So you might have gotten buried, but all of a sudden, it's just when the stars align, right? And I had somebody reach out to me, and I remember seeing that, but I was on a call, and then I never thought about it again. And then when I got another ping, it was like, oh yeah, I have time to talk to that person now. So you never know when they're going to be available. So just don't take it personally, but make sure that there's time and space between your.
That's great. That's great. And that's a fantastic note, Joe, about specifically when you're trying to connect with HR people or recruiters, as opposed to regular rank and file people, right?
One more tip is that as recruiters, we rarely find contact information when we click on contact information, but there's a fantastic tool that you can get for free. It's called HireTool, HireTual, HireTool. I'm not sure what it may be .com, it could be .io, probably .io, but you can just even Google HireTool. There's only one HireTool, and you can get a Chrome extension, and you can get up to 3 contacts, you know, where they actually do the AI behind the actual profile and check out other places where they may have contact information, and you can get up to 3 per day for free.
And by the way, just to clarify, thank you for that tool, Joe. The contact info button that I was talking about, you can only do if you are first level connected, not for second and third. So Joe's giving you another tool. If you're not first level, other ways to get contact info. But if you're first level, you should be able to. Sometimes people have extra privacy, and so they just hide their contact info from everybody. But likely, if you're first, you should get it. Okay, great. Thank you, Joe. All right, Kiki, next question.
All right. And then over in the chat, make sure you're following the chat, because I put the link over for Joe's tool that she just mentioned, and then a link to more information like on how to check your visual appearance that you can look at. And there's contact information. So definitely keep an eye over there. Okay, so there was a question that came in that had to do with the elevator pitch.
Mm-hmm.
You're meeting someone, you're talking to someone, and you have that moment where you're able to talk about yourself. Talk about the elevator pitch. And to this person, I will say that I said that Vern has like the best.
Yes, right. I'm gonna yeah, I think all of us experts have a version of this. We're gonna punt this to you, Vern, because this is what you do every day.
Okay.
This is your moment.
Yeah. I'm sorry.
You're on.
I apologize. So the best elevator pitch that Contacts Count has come up with is a short elevator pitch. So it's communicating. Again, this is about teaching and giving. So when someone says, "Tell me about yourself," or "What do you do?" which is the common question, you need to think 2 sentences. The first sentence is something you're best at, something you want to be known for, something you want to communicate to other people about who you are, what's your best skill, your best talent. So, and then the second sentence is what we call a testimonial. It's an example of when, in fact, you've used that skill. So I'll give you a simple example here. So with Contacts Count, I could say to you, in answer to what do you do, I'm a principal consultant at Contacts Count, okay? Or I'm a VP of HR. That doesn't really say much about you. It lumps you in with all of these other people. And so it's an opportunity to teach. So if somebody says, "What do you do?" I say, I teach people how to build trust-based relationships using the skills and behaviors of networking. I just completed a program with the MBA students at George Washington University, where they said the program literally changed their lives. So in 2 sentences, you can communicate a lot. And typically what we find is when you've got a great best test answer, people will ask you more questions. You know, if you say you're the VP of HR, they'll go, "Okay, you're the VP of HR. I know lots of VPs of HR." But if you've got a great test answer, it'll actually fuel a conversation, and you can share more information about who you are, what you're looking for, whatever.
That's great. And in addition to that, thank you for that, Vern. In addition to that, people, feel safe when they have a label, right? Something that they can kind of hang their hat on with you. So if you can also give them a little descriptor. Hi, I'm an HR executive in the government contracting sector. I'm a retail executive leader. I am in the accounting finance sector. I'm a controller. Something that's the kind of where they're like, "Oh, right, I can suddenly put you in a category," especially if you have a sector that you can connect it. So you might have what I call your lane, which is your profession. Then you'll have your sector, maybe that's your industry, put them together. Like I'm an association search consultant, or I'm a career coach, and that kind of thing. Helps people give a little bit of anchoring. And what Vern said, what do you help people do?
So here's an example from an actual workshop, but I'm going to add what Shira said. I'm a VP of HR in the retail space, and I have a lot of expertise in onboarding. Last week, I was invited to speak at the SHRM conference on the innovations that we've created and in the onboarding program we've created at XYZ company.
Exactly. Exactly. Yep. It's just got keep it simple and help them
Yeah.
move along. Thank you, Vern. Appreciate that. All right, Kiki, next question.
All right. So what's the best response if an interviewer thinks you might be overqualified for the position?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think last week I started talking about this, and I'll probably keep bringing this up as much as I can remember to say it. Your job is to find a job, right? The employer's job is to minimize their risk. I want to just say that again. The employer's job is to minimize their risk in hiring, okay? And so there are a lot of things that could be risky for an employer, not the least of which is the level of experience that you bring to the table. Either what they perceive to be as too little, or what they perceive to be as too much. And you think to yourself, well, why is it a bad thing to have too much experience? Well, in theory, nothing wrong with that. I mean, it's great. You're a rock star, you bring all these qualifications, but the problem is, or the perception around most employers is that, well, fill in the blank. You might be bored in this role. You might come in and say, look, been there, done that. I don't need any training. I don't need to learn your ways because I've got this all down pat. It might be that you're not going to stick around very long because this isn't going to be a challenging kind of role for you. There are all these different things, these perceptions and misperceptions. I can't say whether right or wrong because it'll be different for each person, but this is kind of what often is going on in their mind. So if you apply for a job where you believe, even before you apply, that there might be a perception that you're overqualified, you're going to have to be able to address that in advance. You're going to address that in your cover letter. You want to address that even in the opening statements of your meeting with them to say why you believe this position is going to be challenging for you, why you believe you're going to be able to stick around, especially if the title that you most recently came from was a little higher than the job that you are applying for. If you feel like your years of experience might overqualify you, any of those things, employers need to feel safe. They need to feel like you're going to slide into this job, right? With hardly any ramp up time. You're going to be interested. You're going to have a lot of energy. So this is kind of an ageism tip here. Show I don't care how many gray hairs you got on your head. I got a whole bunch that I'm covering up right now. Okay. Energy matters, right? That sense of, yeah, I'm into this. I'm excited about this. I want to contribute. That's what they're looking for more than anything. And that you're in it to win it and you're going to stick around for a while. Okay. So I'm going to leave that one there because I know we've got other questions. I'm sure all of us experts could talk about this. So Kiki, is the next question for us?
Yeah, there was a question that came up in the group that I was in that had to do with age, and it had to do with, there are a lot of interviews that are happening where you're competing with a lot of different people, and a lot of millennials and younger generation. So the question was, how do you best prepare for that sort of situation? Because it feels like there seems to be something more at hand, and without coming forward and saying, I'm older and I know that, how do you best handle that situation?
It's a great one. I think it dovetails on what I was just talking about. First of all, and I really don't mean to be glib when I say this, but I'm going to say it anyway. Age is a state of mind. Can I just say it? Age is a state of mind, right? You really are as young as you feel. And I have seen people who are age-wise chronologically really up there and you would never know it, right? Because they are just hitting life just like this. And I've seen the other way around as well. So the extent to which you can put that out of your mind, truly put it out of your mind. If you are a qualified individual, if you've got energy and enthusiasm and passion for what you do, right? A lot of that other stuff kind of falls by the wayside because what you're doing is you are psychologically overcoming the objection, the unconscious bias. We all have unconscious biases, every one of us does, that might already be surfacing within that person, but you can overcome it just by showing up with your full self, showing up and saying, look, I've got the energy, I've got the skills, I've got the passion, I've got the enthusiasm to do this, and almost ignore the fact that the people you're interviewing with are half your age, okay? It's okay. Now, could bias still exist? Of course, we can't overcome it completely, but all you can do is your part to make sure that they are not looking at the gray hairs, but they're looking at your qualifications and your culture fit and your motivation and your passion for what you're doing. And especially the sector that you want to serve, that can help a lot. Jo, is there anything that you want to mention around this as well?
I just think the most important thing is passion. I just spoke about this on Tuesday night, especially we're one-dimensional right now, right? So you can't interview like you are in an office because they're not getting all of the flavor. They're just only getting you on screen. And so you know how actors have to overact, right? And they have to, have gestures or whatever. It's because they have to convey something, right? And that's exactly what we need to do. So I 100% applaud that. And then as far as the overqualified part, that's where you respond, that's great news. What you're saying is I fulfill every one of the qualifications and then some. So when do I start?
And a little humor is always a good thing too. That's good. Thank you, Jo. All right, Kiki.
All right, this one I don't understand about higher view. So I don't know if this is something everyone else knows about and I don't or what, but can you provide any tips on how to prepare for a higher view interview? I have one coming up and it's scheduled for 10 minutes.
Yeah, I higher view, all I know is that it's an interviewing platform, like it's a video interview platform. I actually don't know the specifics of it. Jo, you're probably, or Michelle, I don't know if either one of you know about it.
Yeah, I've actually had to do it twice.
Okay.
And I will tell you that it's nerve-wracking.
Mm.
I don't ever really perspire ever, but I could sort of feel myself perspiring doing it because they're going to flash the question across the screen and then you have like 2 minutes to answer it or whatever. And so what I would say is that it's really important to just simply, you're just talking to that little camera, right? And there's no other context. And again, just bring some enthusiasm, some humor, just make sure you speak slowly. I tend to speak quickly when I'm nervous. So I just intentionally slowed down and then it helped my brain to kick in some vocabulary and some way to answer the question in a way that would be beneficial. But all I can say is just let us know when that is and we'll all pray for you.
Mm-hmm.
Sure, I shared with and this came from the group I was in, and I shared with them, my daughter actually had a higher view interview. This was a couple of years ago, was when this was first coming out. And again, just like any other interview, the job you're applying for, the key responsibilities. Make sure you've got all of your questions for those key responsibilities, those key requirements written out, practiced, rehearsed, which will make it a lot easier when the camera comes on. Now in her interview, and I don't know if this is the same all of the time, but she was actually able to have a second chance. In other words, if she recorded something, she could delete it and then answer it again. Now, I don't know if that might be a setting that the company or higher view can turn on or turn off, depending on what the company asks.
It depends on the client, right?
Yeah,
because that was on both of the ones I did, that was not an option.
That was, yeah. And then the other thing that I found that she found most challenging was the last question, and she was in learning and development. They gave her a scenario, and and I don't know how much time they gave her, 5 or 10 minutes, but here's what you have to train people how to make a pizza. How would you approach this? What would you do? So that was, I found that, wow, that's really challenging. Because like Jo said, you're already nervous, now you're trying to think through that. That's my 2 cents.
All right, thank you for that. So looking at the time, Kiki, is there one more question here that you think would be good for folks to?
Yeah, because I want to give some attention to Karen Porterfield. She is, I can tell that she's a person that we would really get along, because she said she has 2 questions here, one right after the other. How best to network in the online environment, but that is connected to networking for introverts. And so even though I talk a lot, I actually have a lot of social anxiety. And so let's talk about, I really want to drill into this networking for introverts piece.
Vern, I'm gonna go ahead and punt that one to you, because I know that you're like the networking king here. So any tips you have?
So remember, in terms of networking, it's everything you do to build a relationship, not just going to a networking event. So and for introverts, one of the things that introverts are good at is thinking and planning. So if you're thinking about having a conversation or a Zoom call with someone, use your skills as an introvert to think about, how do I want this call to go? What's my agenda? What would I like to get from this interview? What can I possibly give for this interview? What kind of questions can I come up with to ask this person? And think about it from actually just asking the other person questions and learning from them, which introverts, are actually better at than extroverts, because extroverts are just talking about themselves all the time, right?
They're pretty good listeners.
Yeah. So yeah, and introverts are good listeners. And when you're listening, it's a great, we say listen for the give. As somebody's telling you about who they are and what they're interested in, listen for the give. Is there this article that I could, send them? Is there someone I could introduce them to? And that begins to build the relationship. And most introverts will get more comfortable as time goes on with a particular person that they begin to develop a relationship with.
That's great. That's great. I noticed someone raised their hand. Actually, we're trying these days to kind of keep everything in a chat. So Ida, would you mind putting your question in chat? That would be super, super helpful.
The question's already there, sort of. So I just, or the comment was there. So I was just, somebody else made it. I thought it was a good question.
Okay.
So,
Do you want to just
sure. I'll just just read it. The challenge for informational interviewing in terms of hearing and giving is that I feel the same way, that I have nothing I can offer. Give back to the people who are taking the time out of their schedules to speak with me. Any tips, suggestions on that?
Vern?
I'd repeat what I just said.
Okay.
While you don't think you have anything to give, in the interview, again, if you're asking questions, if you're learning about the other person, think about what you possibly can give to them. And again, it could be simply, and the give doesn't have to be immediate. It doesn't have to be, oh my God, now I've got to give something to them. It may be a week later when you see this article that's related to something they did. Send them an email and say,
you can always close the meeting by saying, is there anything I can do for you? It's a great question.
Yeah.
What do you need? Do you need a referral? Is there anything I can help you with? Even just asking is enough.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, absolutely. All right, so we're going to go ahead and pivot here. Sorry, we couldn't get to all of the questions where we're looking at time. And so I did Kiki, if you can go ahead and put in the chat box, there's an upcoming program on February 11th at noon Eastern. There's another career coach who's in my network. His name is Jim Thomas, and he's going to be conducting an hour-long webinar on what he calls the secret sauce for job search success. So Kiki, if you could put that in the chat box, that would be terrific.
It's
All
in
right.
there.
Sure. Thank you so much. All right, let me just go ahead and we'll wrap up with a couple of slides here. So if you'd like to keep in touch with us, here is our contact information. I know a lot of you have it already. Feel free to take a screenshot of this. All right. Oops. Here you go. And then also, just again to remind you, there are a bunch of free job support groups here in the DC area. Feel free to take a shot of this. Lots of weekly webinars that are going on. I wanted to also remind you guys that I do a bi-weekly newsletter now called Higher Moments. If you're not on my mailing list, please chat me or email me, and I'll make sure that will get you on there. I do like to end with a scripture, and this one says, it's from Zephaniah. It says, "The Lord your God is in your midst, a victorious warrior. He will exalt over you with joy. He will be quiet in his love. He will rejoice over you with shouts of joy." And I do have a new feature we're going to offer as of today, and that is at the end of this session, if any of you would like to stay around, I'm going to be leading the group in a short prayer session. Okay, so for those of you who are interested, I'll just stay on the call. You're welcome to stay on with me 5-10 minutes, and hopefully you'll get some encouragement from this, okay? And so we're going to jump into speed networking, and in speed networking, we're going to have 10 minutes to introduce yourself to your team, and you could use Vern's pitch, elevator pitch topic if you'd like. Explain what you do, explain who you are, what you're looking for, what a great connection is for you, share leads with each other, and again, make sure to use the Power Networking spreadsheet to keep in touch, all right? So we'll go ahead and get you guys back into these groups. So here you go. And experts, go ahead and feel free to accept your join button this time.
Hey, Shira, how you doing?
Hey, good. I guess you're not in a room. I don't see.
I'm gonna do it right now. My wife was yelling at me.
Okay, all right, go for it.
Hey, I sent you an email about this survey by CTA. It's pretty good stuff on jobs.
Okay, appreciate that.
Wendy and
problem.
I
Take care.
ended up in the same one. Sorry to interrupt, Kelly.
Okay, I'll go ahead and move you, Kiki.
Oh, that's okay. No,
No, you're okay? Okay.
I need a break. I
Need a
need
break.
That
All right.
was so cool to be able to talk a little bit about her background. It was such a good example. She just gave such, I thought that, I don't know that I did it justice, but I think that she just offered the perfect example of
Oh, yeah.
a
That's great.
different way you can
You
deal
should,
with
you should
your,
incorporate her into your other stuff, maybe she'll
I
be open to
know.
talking to you for your other,
Yeah.
other programs.
Yeah, for
That's a great-
sure. How are
that's a
you?
great- I'm good. I'm good. Yeah.
Yeah.
A little chilly today.
Yeah.
Yeah. How's your move going?
So far, so good. We closed on the house last Friday, and for selling the house, and then we got the congratulations from the mortgage company, and now we close on the house we're buying at the first part of March. So it's just getting through this February part where it's
Another
like,
month of this.
yeah, it's another month of this, and it's been a blessing, but it's been really busy work wise, which is awesome. And you know how it is. It's also stressful, and it's also tiring and all of that kind of stuff too, but it's been great. And I really mean it, not like I'm trying to force myself to say it, but I'm really thankful for, how things are going right now. So yeah.
I'm so glad. No, that's so fantastic, Kiki. I'm so glad. And you get to move into your brand new place in March.
Yes. And I keep imagining what it's going to be like when I'm drinking coffee in the kitchen, or when I'm visualizing all these different things, what it's going to be like when Brian comes downstairs and he can't find me, and where am I? Because I could be several different places.
Right.
Just what's he going to do? Is he going to yell? How's he going to find me? What if I'm in the garage?
Your antenna, you have a homing device for your husband.
Yeah, I mean, I'm already dreaming of, I can put the hanging baskets on the porch, and all these things. It's not even, there's snow on the ground, but this is the stuff I'm thinking about.
I loved your little post about the living with your in-laws, about the pickles. That was hysterical.
Well, so yesterday I posted this little thing for my mother-in-law, who I just absolutely love her. And so I just wanted to share that she's awesome. Right. But I mentioned the pickles in that because it was and she's not afraid to make, air fried pickles when she, when she laughs so hard. But it was just, it's so funny because that stuff happens. And people get so irritated with each other over the smallest
little thing. I know.
The tiniest things, but it's hilarious. That's the funny stuff about life. It's you could want to kill somebody over something at one moment, and then it's the next it's nothing.
What did they say when they read your post?
Oh, it was a lot of laughing, and then a continued argument about what the best way to make So,
yeah, we're still recording here, so somebody might have be listening
that's okay.
to what
You
we're
should
talking
see the
about.
pickle post.
It's about
if
what's
anybody watches
pickle.
This later,
yeah, what's the best pickle to use when you're air frying a pickle? Which I didn't even know you could air fry a pickle or should air fry a pickle.
But now you know. Yeah. If you want to go read the post, anyone who's might be listening to this later, associationchat.com, look for the post that has pickles on it, and you'll know that you found the right one.
Oh my gosh, that's a hoot.
Yeah.
That is really, really cool. Yeah, I talk to you offline, Kiki, but I've got all of these folks that are promoting kind of doing these self videos, not the kind where you just do what I do, or just Zoom.
Yeah.
Interesting ones like promo.com.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
in fact, I have an association client who literally in their marketing department, that's what they use for their own association videos. And
Yeah.
I looked at it. I mean, I have to find the time to actually go through it. Do you have any tips on using stuff like that?
I think that they're really, they're easy tools. I think they're a lot of fun. I mean, it's really just sort of drag and drop and doing some of that stuff, and it's good for social media. I think the best thing that I would suggest for that kind of stuff is if you can integrate a little bit of customization that shows, you know, elements with your people actually doing stuff, so it doesn't seem like it's that kind of tool. Because all the one thing is that these tools are templates, you know, and so it's like they all kind of look the same. And so it works to an extent that it looks professional. It just doesn't make anybody want to watch it or listen to it or pay attention. And so breaking through the boredom factor, like you still have to, at the end of the day, you still have to actually get someone's attention, you know. And so in getting that attention, usually what will do it is, oh, this is real. Oh, this is something that's different. Oh, this is, and they can do that, anybody can do that using these tools, similar to like in Canva, by just incorporating those customized pieces. So you can do that with video, and it works really well. So.
Yeah, because I mean, I know for myself, I want to be as authentic as possible. And so speaking to the camera to me is hugely important. I guess those videos don't really allow for that.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I don't know if that's necessarily true, although I don't know that it's not true. I don't know that I've tried to think about incorporating that, but I don't know why you couldn't do it. Maybe I should go back and take a look. I mean, I think you could.
People want personalization, especially if they're going to want to be work. It's one thing if you're working with an organization. If you're working with a person, you want a connection with the person.
Yeah, for sure.
More than hear them, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know if that's even the right tool for me, because I'm not looking for something glitzy for the sake of glitzy. I want authentic.
You know, there are several really good tools that I might say. And if it's just for something that's like a short video that's used for promotion, there are actually, I was just looking at some new ones the other day, and one of them, there's one I just signed up for which is saying a lot, because I don't like to add subscriptions. I like to subtract subscriptions. So, but there's one that I just got. Let me see what it's called. And I found out about it, and it's kind of like it's kind of like Canva for video, really.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, there are a couple of those, but this one I like more. Let me see if I can find it. I spent money on it. Let me see where I can find it. But it's really good. And I started playing around with it and creating some stuff in it. Let's see if I can find it for you really fast. If I can't find it while we're on here, I'll send it to you in a little bit.
Yes.
I have to backtrack because it was at the beginning of the week, which feels like a year ago now. Okay. Is this it? No. But it's really cool. And I found it from someone who does, she does stuff kind of like I do, but she is like totally focused on, it's called The Prepared Performer. And so her whole focus is you know, communicating through video and stuff like that. And so she's out in LA, and she's like been on Broadway, and that's like her whole thing. Like there's nothing else that she's doing, and she's primarily focused on social media, video, and that kind of stuff. She's fantastic. I think I love her. You know, she's got a personality that's very different from mine, but I really, she knows her stuff. And so her name's Molly Mahoney, and she shares stuff all the time that's really helpful.
Cool.
So
excellent. Thank you.
Yeah. Let me see what this thing is.
So I just want to thank you for this. As I said to my small group, this is my first time
Oh, welcome.
session on Friday mornings, and I'm really enjoying it. So it's been
Good.
great to just sit back and kind of get the flow of how the morning works. So thank
Good. I'm glad. How'd you hear about us? Did you hear about us through a friend or through social media?
you. I think it's social media.
Yeah, welcome, welcome. All right, so just to wrap things up real quick, experts who were on the group calls, would you like to share anything notable about what happened in your group? Anything that the group could benefit from hearing about? Vern or Wendy? Joe?
We went back to that discussion about being overqualified. And so here's the thing that, you can do is to offer yourself and say, you could, definitely hire somebody who is less qualified for this price. But if you can get me with all of this extra experience and these skills for the same price, would that not be a greater ROI for your company?
Great. It's a great way to overcome it. Terrific. Vern,
So
or-
we just talked about how many great resources there are out there,
Yeah.
as far as even if you're an introvert, like resources online and little, networking, coffees and everything to really just reach out and find out about those, and you'll start building your confidence level bit by bit by attending more and more of those.
Well, it's a great comment that you just made there, Wendy, because I've actually been thinking that I should, and I'm just gonna say I will put together a web page for all these resources. So I'd like to commit to doing that. So I'm going to put my email here in the chat. You know how every week everybody shares us something, right? Just like even today, links and articles and books and what have you. If you have your own links and articles and books and tools, please email me. I'm going to compile things. I'm going to create a web page and just direct everybody there, so it'll be a regular archive for folks to access. The list of resources again for what I would you show that list of resources again for a moment for now? Karen, I'm not sure what list you're talking about because I haven't done it yet. I have to still have to create the page.
Oh, no. You had a slide.
I did. Oh, I'm sorry.
You had a slide. Yeah, if you would just, I think someone asked before if you would just show it again for a moment. I'll take a screenshot.
Are you talking about this one here? Oh, sorry. It'd be good if I shared my screen. This is just a quick list. But I haven't put it in the chat box. So there's okay, so let me go ahead and
there was one with the visuals.
With the visuals. Oh, this one here?
Yes.
The connection to the others.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah,
That's it.
absolutely. Yep. Here you go.
Thank you.
Hold on. Let me put that here. There you go.
Perfect.
Feel free to take a picture of those. And look, these are just the ones here in the DC area, but of course there are ones all around the country, and I probably wouldn't have room to fit them all here, but if there are other ones that you guys know of that you've been participating in because it's virtual and you really enjoy it, feel free to chat me that as well, and I'll try to make room on the page. Okay. All right. So with that,
I'm sorry. Could you show the contact slide again? I'm sorry. I didn't get a screenshot.
Absolutely.
Sorry about that.
Of course, no worries. Oops. Here you go.
Perfect. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Got it. Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, so with that, I think we are good. We look forward to seeing everyone next week. And as a reminder, for those of you who would like to stay on the call for just a few minutes here, I'm going to be leading folks in a prayer session. So otherwise, we will see you all next week. Have a blessed day and a blessed week. Take care.
Thanks, Shira.